Let's take it from the top.
This is the Lowdown Sports Show.
Give me the lowdown.
With Drew.
I just heard your dad might already hate you, and I was like,
Yeah.
what, brother? Oh, man.
And BJ.
Yeah, he could be part of the mascot's entourage and be throwing T-shirts into the crowd.
And it all starts right now.
All right, welcome into another episode and another season of the Lowdown Sports Show. I'm your host, Drew.
And I'm BJ.
And welcome into season 4 of the Lowdown. Thank you guys for joining us. I'm already messing up to start the season. How wonderful is that? And that is just so on brand for us and for myself as well. So you know you're in the right place, and that this is no duplicates here. There are no copies. It is actually us because I'm over here.
It's the genuine articles, my friend. And I was gonna say it's you said that week off really rejuvenated you, and yet it didn't get the flubs out of your system.
Oh, apparently not. Apparently not. But we're going to get it together. I promise. We got a big show planned because we were gone for a week. Or a couple of weeks. We took a week off. And that's how that usually goes when we go into a new season. And it's just how we usher it in. And it feels fresh. We get refreshed. Like BJ said, I was telling him how I feel refreshed for the season. And that's just how it feels so far, and we're going to rock that way. We're going around the association to begin season 4 for the 28th time. We've got a lot to talk about. Some things on the NBA side, talking load management. That was more of a last week topic, but we're here to talk about it this week because we didn't get to do it with you guys last week. Max, which people used to call HBO Max, what people used to call HBO, what HBO now, all the different names it has. It and something else is going to be joining on to do some NBA content displays this season. We'll talk about that. And a star in the NBA, a little sharpshooter, is probably looking for a new home now after he can't get a new agreement with his team, Mr. Buddy Hield. We'll talk about him and where he could possibly go. BJ's best, what's on Drew's mind. In the WNBA, we're talking the first round of the playoffs. And that has wrapped up, and the second round will begin on Sunday. It's coming up so fast. Some spicy matchups. We are ready for it. New show out from a couple of WNBA players that's out. We're going to show that trailer, and we're going to talk about that show and what that can consist of and how you could possibly watch it as well. And we're going to talk some playoff performers from the first round as well, going into round 2, some of the top people going into the semifinals. And, of course, some with it or quit it, baby. And you know how that goes around here. That's the lowdown for what's going on in the show. Are you ready to rock, BJ?
I'm ready, Drew. Let's get it.
You're ready? Well, before we get into things, we got to show some love to our partners, TeePublic, Fanatics, and SeatGeek. SeatGeek is a ticket app that takes the confusion out of buying tickets. Use code THELOWDOWN in all caps for $20 off your first order. And, Mr. BJ, just so everybody gets refreshed, that this show, they remember, you can see it on the new overlay up there. This show is presented by STATHEAD.
It is, Drew, and that means that it's time for our stat of the day. Well, looking at those WNBA playoffs, all 4 matchups in the first round were won by the higher ranked team, I would say. So it was a little chalky. But stat of the episode, I beg your pardon. I see it on screen. I don't know why. It just
the Lowdown CFB.
It's something. It's been a long week, Drew. And this I know you said you got rejuvenated. I wish that other forces in my life would have allowed me to have the same rejuvenation. But anyway, our stat of the episode brought to us by our friends over at StatHead. We've got an exciting matchup in the WNBA semifinals this weekend. We've got the not the Mystic. What am I talking about? The Liberty, who lost or who beat the Mystics. Yeah, it's a flubby kind of episode, I guess, Drew. The Liberty beat the Mystics in the first round in a 2-game sweep, and they'll be taking on the Connecticut Sun, who survived a third and decisive game up in Minnesota against the Lynx. And, well, for today's purposes, our stat of the day, Brianna Stewart has played 20 career games against Connecticut. She has a 13-7 record all time, but this will be her first ever matchup against Connecticut in the playoffs. All the times that both teams were in the playoffs, and Seattle and Connecticut never ended up facing off against one another. This will be their first matchup in the playoffs, Brianna Stewart versus the Sun. In her regular season career, she averages 18 points and 7.5 rebounds per contest against Connecticut. And this season was her season or her best points per game against Connecticut in her career, with 20.8 points against the Sun in the matchups that they played, which topped 2019's season where she averaged 20.5 points per game, and even her second year when she was over 20 as well. She's over 20 points against the Sun 3 times in her young career. So it's going to be interesting to see what comes of this this series with the Liberty and the Sun. I'm really excited for it. I'm looking forward to it. I know you are as well, Drew, as well as your Dallas Wings, who, well, I don't want to give too much away. We'll get to it. We'll talk about it in the WNBA portion of it. But that's how excited I am, Drew. We're back and we're talking about basketball. I almost went full blown into conversation without following the structure of the show.
Well, thank you, Mr. BJ, for that stat of the episode. And let's get right to it. Let's start off with some load management in the NBA. Adam Silver talked about this recently. I say recently, it was last week, guys. Last week, he talked about it, and he was saying it's ultimately about the fans and what we've taken this load management too far. This is an acknowledgement that has gotten away from us a bit, and they've got a new little policy here. BJ, you got to see this over the past week or so.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a wrinkle in it where some older players like LeBron James, who, if you have a certain amount of minutes, you're over a certain year of age, and a number of other things, you can qualify to have some nights off.
Okay, so there are exceptions, basically, is what you're telling me, Drew.
There's a little bit.
Well, I guess we can kind of just start at the very beginning. So what exactly, Drew, did they change with these new rules? I know that this has been a big effort to curb the resting of stars, especially for the big games. And you got to go all the way back to when David Stern was still commissioner, and the Spurs basically rested their entire big three against Miami on a big time, like nationwide broadcast on TNT. And that was what may have made some of Stern's blood vessels just boil over, and when Greg Popovich did that. So,
well, here's what the new policy is, Beach. Rest no more than one star player from a game. For purposes of the restrictions, a quote star player is defined as someone who has been an all-star or an all-NBA selection in any of the past 3 seasons. It will also impact the balance of the schedule players named to that season's all-star teams. Make star players available for nationally televised games and in-season tournament games. Ooh. So the NBA is doing some prioritizing of these NBA in-season tournament games. Like, in our first season, you're not going to rest these little players. I better see Kawhi out there playing the in-season tournament game.
Well, the quickest way to make sure the in-season tournament was a flop was to have none of the star players playing in it. So the NBA kind of forced teams' hand in order to make sure that they would be taking it as serious as the league wants it to be taken.
Yeah, and since Kawhi can show up to Boulder, Colorado for a Buffaloes game, he's going to be able to show up to these in-season tournament games for sure. Adam Silver is making sure of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Within this policy, BJ, balance the number of one-game rest absences a star player accrues in home games versus road games, with a recommendation that a player often sit out at home. They also got refrain from any long-term shutdown when a star stops participating in games or appears only in a materially reduced role that could affect the integrity of the game. Is that just like a sneaky way of saying no tanking?
That is, Drew. That's got to be what that is. I mean, it basically would have been if Luka Doncic in the last 5 games was suddenly come down with like a shoulder injury and didn't play when the Mavs were not in the playoff race, and they just wanted to go ahead and try to salvage their pick at that point. That's I think what that is basically preventing or trying to prevent.
One funny thing that has been tossed around once this came out that I do remember seeing last week. Shout out to me and my little brain here. I didn't even look at my bookmarks. You didn't tell me about that.
Sorry.
Is that people can put one player out in a rest situation and then another player out with an illness.
Mm-hmm.
Might see a little bit of those wrinkles slid in, and the NBA try and slide in a mid-season policy, like, hey, you can't do that either. I see what you're trying to do here,
Coach.
Trying to find a little spot that you're not supposed to
find. I can't play tonight.
A little bit more. They also have any healthy players resting for a game present and visible to fans.
Yeah, so, and I do like the rule about if you're going to rest the player, do so more at home than on the road, because there are, if I was going to a big marquee game, like when the Lakers come to town, I would want to see LeBron James play in that game, because that may be his only trip to Dallas that year or something like that. Or, for instance, basically using that as an example. So, there is more of an incentive when you're playing 40 games at home to, if you need a night off, the home crowd has a chance to see you more often than the away crowd does. So I am a fan of that in particular, for sure.
And here's the example of what we were talking about with some going around the rules here. The policy includes exceptions for injuries and personal absences, as well as pre-approved absences. I'm sure they take account mental health days as well. I'm sure. I wonder if I don't think that is in here. That's a good question to ask about, but I'm sure they do. In back-to-back schedule circumstances based on a player's age, career workload, or serious injury history. For example, what's up?
I was going to say the league has listed several other exceptions, which do include personal reasons. I imagine that could be a mental health kind of.
Yeah. I'm sure you can slide that in that realm. A lot of things like that will be able to fit in that box of personal absence. Death in the family, things like that, marriages or whatever, what have you. For example, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Chris Paul, and other players who are at least 35 years old on opening night or have appeared in 1,000 career games or logged more than 34,000 regular season minutes will fall into this category. Their teams must notify the league in writing at least 1 week in advance, explaining why the player's participation will be limited. The league office will have authority to conduct investigations and order independent medical reviews in the event of any questionable absences. A team's first PPP violation would carry a fine of $100,000, according to an ESPN report. A second offense would cost $250,000, and subsequent fines would escalate by $1 million per violation.
Ooh, wow. And one thing I found interesting, Drew, I know we haven't really had a chance to talk more about it, but, there is a list of like star players that are, going to fall under this rule. Basically, it's got a list of 46 players. That's way too long to go into. But most notably for Dallas is Luka and Kyrie, as you would expect.
Yeah.
But there are some teams that don't have any players listed, even though there's, definitely reasons to be intrigued and want to see these players. So if you're a younger team, which obviously, more power to you, like if you're an OKC, if you're a Detroit, if you're an Orlando, there's not as many regulations and restrictions on what you can do rest wise for your star players, and especially making sure that their load early on in their career is not so extreme that they could not have a long and successful career. So that it'll be interesting to see how that comes about with those teams. Are they able to rest more than some of the other teams that do have a star player in the league? Because nobody really is putting them under the microscope.
Yeah. We'll have to see how that shakes out and how a lot of this shakes out throughout the course of a season. Because, we're just so used to be players finding a way around it over the years, in the past. What is it now? 10 plus, a little over 10 now, BJ, since Pop was starting that back in that day when we were in high school when this began.
I was going to say, I think this is the 10th anniversary of it because it was a
Yeah.
finals rematch. I don't think it was the 2014 season into 2015. I think it was right after the Heat had made that epic comeback and they were getting ready to try to defend their two-time title, go for the three-peat. When San Antonio did that, and then San Antonio would go on and win later on that year in the finals rematch for the championship. But so it was about 10 years ago to answer your question. Yes.
But this will be good for those players that, don't have an injury that will prevent them from signing autographs with fans and things like that. Being able to be available to media or whatever else, just being present and, so some of the things within this will be good, and we'll just see how it shakes out throughout the course of the season. But a new policy in the NBA
definitely be interesting to see.
Yeah, that is for sure. Something else that happened is going to be not only the NBA but the MLB and the NHL and more have set to have select games streamed on Warner Bros.'s Max. What we were talking about earlier. It used to be HBO Now, HBO Max. It is now Max itself. They're going to stream some NBA games. I don't know if you saw recently, BJ, about what's going on with Monday Night Football. They were only going to do select games on ABC this season, and now they're doing all season long on ABC. And it's not necessarily the case here, but Max is going to get some games, and maybe soon they'll be able to take a hold of an entire season's worth of games or have some type of deal, season-long deal.
Wonder how much the writer's strike went into that decision. It was not supposed to be that way, but they have been heavily promoting. I mean, there's not a whole lot of new content that's coming out until everything gets to a resolution in Hollywood. So it makes sense from their perspective. But this shouldn't come as a surprise if you watch, the Turners, the TNT, TBS. They've always got NHL, NBA, and MLB games on throughout the respective seasons. In fact, just the other night, they had an MLB game with Atlanta and Philadelphia on. So I know that there's been a push with a lot of these TV networks that have licensing for sports and have a streaming platform that they've been trying to work in more. NBC has been heavily promoting Peacock. You've got, Disney and ESPN Plus. There's going to be an exclusive ESPN Plus game from London here in a couple of weeks on the NFL side. And now with Max getting into it, it doesn't really surprise me. This is just how things are going in this day and age of media and sports, especially. Anything to drive people to that platform and hopefully encourage more subscriptions. So it doesn't come as a surprise. What I would prefer is that they would go ahead and just simulcast it, or maybe have the alternate stream as the players only broadcast. Seems like it would be perfect to put on Max. You could still have the normal regular broadcast for those that enjoy Kevin Harlan and company on the linear network TNT, for instance, and then you get Chuck and Shaq and whoever else, Kenny and Reggie Miller, whoever all is partaking in the players' broadcast would be perfect on Max, in my opinion, at least.
Definitely interesting, something they could explore. Don't ever split up the main TNT crew, though. Don't ever do that. We keep those things together. One thing though, Max, they got rid of Winning Time. If you didn't hear that recently, only 2 seasons in, they're not giving it a season 3, and it's going to have to look for a new home now. But it won't be short of any NBA content. They're giving 65 games a display on Max this season. 65 regular season games will be available for streaming in the app. This includes the in-season tournament, playoffs, and all-star weekend. So the amount of non-in-season tournament games, don't know what those are going to be exactly, but the combination is up to 65. The hilarious group of Shaq, Chuck, Ernie, and Kenny will also be there. This is because Inside the NBA is part of the show lineup. NCAA March Madness will also be available to watch on the app next
Well,
year.
that is good. I know that I know Coach Tripp will be excited to hear about that for sure.
Oh yeah.
And as will I, because I mean, we both of us we enjoy watching the madness as well. But one thing I do want to ask, and I know that there's no way that this article could answer the question: is there a way that this could be a trial run or a pilot for? There's a lot of uncertainty with both the NBA, the NHL, and the MLB, and their partnership with Bally because of just the uncertainty with Bally as a whole. Is there a possibility that having the partnership with a streaming platform is that where the new out of market games or in market games will go if something were to happen and Bally would no longer be able to hold those rights anymore?
Probably, and I'll be happy once Bally doesn't have the rights anymore, and I'll also be happy that they go to Max because I like Max, and anytime any new Game of Thrones related content comes out, it's on Max, and I am subscribed to Max. Just finished rewatching House of the Dragon on Max, so I'll be ready like SpongeBob to access Max when they deliver all the NBA games to it. But
you and a whole lot of other people out there will be.
Yeah, so I think it'll do well. And Max has high standards. I mean, canceling shows like Winning Time that people liked a lot. A fantastic first season where they immediately renewed a second season to where season 3 just doesn't have any life. That's just the level of, where streaming's at now. And, with the ratings that the NBA pulls in all the time, HBO ain't gonna never let go of them. So they know they've got a solid partnership. It's a nice platform. People are used to it. Hopefully Max stays its name for a really long time and just beats the odds and doesn't change after a few years like every other. I was to
say, as many name changes as they've gone through, like one of these has to stick, right?
You got to stop somewhere. I mean, you just explored pieces of the name for the last, at least 10 years, and you got to stop right here. It's just making a new name just wouldn't make any sense at this point, especially after if you lock in a partnership with the NBA. You can't be changing your name. It's not a gamer tag on Xbox. It's not a Twitter handle, okay? You can't just change it all the time or after 30 days. Like some platforms.
The only thing I could think is that instead of HBO, they would do like WB Discovery Max or something like that because it's now Prime Video. Under Warner Brothers Discovery. But yeah, I don't think
maybe
they'll
not
change
because the NFL is already rocking with Prime Video, so probably find a different home. Hulu? No. Well, no. Hulu does have everybody. They do have live sports though. I knew what you were about to say. Live sports, so maybe Max is about to have live sports. Maybe that's what we're about to be into with the NBA.
We're taking it to the max with live sporting events all year long.
To the max. And taking it to the max, and he wants the max from somebody else. I mean, I'm just kidding. He doesn't necessarily want the max, but he probably wants a new home now because his Pacers won't pay him any money and won't get into these trade discussions and find a nice, happy medium with him. So Buddy Hield is looking for a new home and trying to talk with the Pacers about some trade partners. And BJ, we want to try and take a look and see where Buddy Hield's services could be used at. Of course, the Dallas Mavericks could use his services for sure. He sure would like coming back around here. Good place. Feels real homey. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And but on a serious note, Mavericks would actually be a really good spot.
Oh, I think so too,
especially right now. But we'll get into the homerisms and non-homerisms of that in a second. Let's take a peek at where some other people where they think Buddy Hield would be a nice squeeze in at. Maybe negotiate a trade with I'm kind of raising an eyebrow now, kind of looking at some of these going through. I want to pick one that I like where he could win right now. It's not on that list.
What about
the Bleacher Report? You got one? The Lakers probably.
Lakers were definitely listed as a possibility, but I don't think that's going to be. I don't think that's going to happen. There's just not. I don't think they've got enough salary to really get him on their books. So I don't know if that's going to happen. I was just say, what about the Raptors?
Okay, see, that was one of the teams that I saw, but I wasn't sure. I guess he's just squeezing in Fred VanVleet's role in his minutes right there.
Mm-hmm.
And taking it to that degree. I don't know though.
I mean, would he be an upgrade over Dennis Schroeder for sure? I would say. You could do maybe a swap for Gary Trent.
Yeah. So you might be taking a look at what I peeked at with CBS here.
Yes.
That was one of the first things that they had popped up on here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know. It's an interesting mix and what they've kind of got going on out there. Maybe I don't know. It just depends on what they would ship out in a trade and what would be left there in Toronto. Because if it's just him and Spicy P trying to rock things out there, I don't know if that's really going to carry any team into the playoffs. As much as I like Buddy Hield, I don't know if that's what's suited for Toronto out there. They need a lot of firepower, so they wouldn't be able to give a lot away to bring in Buddy to really make it worth it for Toronto to really be good or any competing team in the East. Because I mean, even if they add Buddy, and let's just say you keep everything that you got and you add Buddy to it, I mean, it's not beating the Bucks, it's not beating the Celtics, it's not beating Philly, it's not beating all the top teams in the East. So
what about a playoff team from last year that has lost a lot of luster? The Brooklyn Nets.
The Brooklyn Nets, man, it's like I don't know, just a weird revolving door. Like, it just depends on what you think about what this next season can be and what Brooklyn sees their future being. Like, is it full out rebuild? I don't think Buddy wants to rebuild. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's been a part of that a little bit ever since he got in the league. Hasn't really competed with been with a team that's competed for a championship. Like, he's seen the postseason, but like he hasn't really gotten to taste it like that. I mean, he's only been in what, Indiana and Sacramento. Those are the only two spots, right? Just those two places. So
pretty sure,
I mean, in his time in Sacramento, I don't know if he was long enough tenured there to taste the playoffs with him. I don't know if he was. I don't think so. And actually, I take it back. Maybe he hasn't even seen playoff action yet. And that's what he's looking for. So I don't think Holmes borderline Toronto these days. Maybe they make the playoffs, maybe they don't. And they just lost one of their main leading scorers. He would have to fill in and be that to a points level degree, or ensure that, some other people on that team will step up. But who's left out there? I don't know enough to speak on the Toronto Raptors completely off of what's left and sticking around out there.
If Brooklyn, I mean, Brooklyn's got some pieces that they could play with and make a playoff run if they added a Buddy Hield. If that's what he's really looking for. Now the question is going to be
it'd be one of those one piece away teams though. Like Mikal is nice, Buddy is nice, but they're not like number one guys. And Nick Claxton defensively, that's really nice for you in the center position. If you put a number one out there with that three-headed nucleus, that's something I'm really interested in. So if another star were to join Buddy in Brooklyn, okay, I'm buying into that. I'm buying into what you can build out there because you got two really high-level defensive players and Mikal that can do it both ways. Claxton's not really a slouch offensively, just, kind of brewing right now, getting it all together. But it would entice me more if he had more out there. So if you're thinking more on the winner side, I've seen names like Houston on here. That's not the direction I'm thinking for Buddy Hield. But if you want to squeeze him into a Lakers, I mean, that's not a bad place to go. I mean, you've got a guy like LeBron that can get him his open shots. And, I mean, when he's with the second group, he's going to be one of the better scorers out there on the court. So he's going to be good in that spot. Other places, maybe the Boston Celtics, if something opens and Malcolm Brogdon leaves, he'd be in some kind of hybrid guard and point guard role. Hopefully not play too much point for him. But not a whole lot of opening places. But I like him as a Maverick.
As many moves as the Mavericks made, if they could find a way to bring him in and still, keep everything that they've been able to do in the offseason, I think that would be just another win from Nico here in this offseason.
Yes, indeed. And now it is time for BJ's Best.
Well, thank you, Drew, for the first time here in season 4. Well, I almost went a very different route this week for BJ's Best. And then, I saw that there was just a terrible incident at Dallas Cowboys practice this afternoon. And I shifted gears because I didn't really want to talk about, Trayvon Diggs and because the conversation I really had wanted to talk about was how good Dallas' defense had been the Cowboys here in the start of this 2023 campaign. This is our first episode of season 4. We've been off since the season started, and the first 2 weeks look really good. And then just another, same old Cowboys. They have something inevitably that goes wrong. Yeah. And it's not any fault of anybody's own. I mean, it just, stuff happens during the course of a season. And this is really going to be a good test to see how the Cowboys can respond because, they've still got a lot of talented pieces on their defense. Anytime you've got Micah Parsons on your team, you feel like you've got a really good chance of being a winning team. And hopefully, if they're going to do it and this is going to be their year, which everybody has said, time in, time out, that it's never going to happen. But, maybe motivation of doing this for Trayvon is what they need. But I'm not doing that. I'm not talking about the Cowboys. That was too much of a off tangent for BJ's best. But, Drew, this weekend, next weekend, and then it's the end of the regular season for Major League Baseball. And I don't know if you've been keeping up with it. I mean, we talked about it. You had your very famous prediction in season 3 when the Rangers got Max Scherzer in the trade.
It started to get painful. I was just, I don't know. I haven't gotten to keep up with it like I would like, but it's been an up and down roller coaster lately. So it's been a little
definitely it has been. There was one point where the Rangers had lost like 8 in a row, and it's just like, well, at that point it was like, okay, well, it's football season. We're close enough to the start of NBA season while the WNBA is also going on. We've got some distractions. Thank you, Rangers, for getting us through that long period of time with nothing else besides the W to keep our minds occupied and going insane, basically. But just when you thought you were out, they pull you back in with a 6-game winning streak. Then they go on a couple losses in a row, and you're like, oh, why did I even get my hopes up? They won a couple games in a row again. They got 7 of their final 10 games, Drew, against a team that they're currently tied with in the standings right now. They are tied at 84-68 with the Seattle Mariners. Both Texas and Seattle are a half game back of the Houston Astros, who are sitting at 85-68. So you've got not 1, not 2, but 3 potential AL West teams that are still in the chase for the division title with 10 games to go. Drew, the last time that ever happened in Major League Baseball history that you had this close to the end of the year, 3 teams still this close, neck and neck, fighting for a division championship?
30 plus years ago.
The answer would be never, Drew. It has never happened. It has never happened. We're seeing Major League Baseball history right now where you've got these teams that are so neck and neck. And one thing that I don't know if the schedule makers knew that this was going to happen, I can't imagine that they did, but the teams, Texas, Seattle tied a half game behind Houston. Well, Texas and Seattle play 3 games in Arlington this weekend. And then Seattle hosts the Astros for 3 next week. And then Seattle hosts the Rangers for 4 to close out the year. All 10 of their games are against the team that they're either tied with or a half game behind. Texas has 7 games left against the Mariners. They've got 3 against the Angels. The Astros get Kansas City this weekend, and then after their trip to Seattle, they got to go to Arizona, which is not going to be easy because you've got Arizona competing for a National League wildcard spot themselves. Yeah. This is going to be crazy, Drew. Back in the day, nowadays, how they would break a tie potentially. I went and looked. I found the tiebreaker scenarios because what's going to happen if you've got all 3 teams that end up with the same record somehow? Don't ask me how, with 7 games between Texas and Seattle remaining. I don't know that there is a chance of that, but it is certainly possible that they could each go 5-5 in their final 10 and they'll still be tied. If for some reason the 3 teams end up in a 3-way tie, we're going to have to go and look at who has the best record among the teams in the American League West. So right now, that's 29-13. Seattle Seattle would be the ones that would win the division because they are 29-13 against the American League West. They have the best intra-division record in the American League itself, and they have a tiebreaker over Toronto should those two teams finish tied.
I object.
Why do you object, Drew?
Because I don't want them to win.
Well, let me keep going on, because if both Texas and Seattle finish in a tie, right now they've got 7 games remaining. But Drew, the Rangers are 5-1 against the Mariners here this season. All it would take is 2 more wins in their final 7. If they go 2-5 against the Mariners in the final 7 games, they would win the season series 7-6. Now, I can't imagine that losing 5 games against Seattle in the last week would keep you in the thick of it as close as you are right now. But you even if you don't go 2-5, as long as you get 2 or even more wins, preferably more, if it comes down to Texas and Seattle for a spot, Texas, because they have the head-to-head record advantage over Seattle, would find their way into the playoffs.
Ooh.
Houston has the series win over the Rangers. They were 9-4, but their record against the Mariners this year, Drew, let me see. I've got it right here. Their record is 2-8 with 3 games remaining.
Oh my God.
So the Mariners 8-2 against the Astros this year.
That's what's weird about baseball. We own the Mariners. I feel like
they own the Astros. The Astros own us. So that's why I looked and was like, okay, so if all 3 teams like have the tiebreaker among the 3, how do you figure out the tie? And that's where it comes down to record in the division. So Texas needs to, go on a tear here in their last 10 in order to be a playoff team for sure. And then what happens beyond that is anybody's guess. But in order to have a seat at the table, Drew, a solid finish and starting off with a couple of good wins there to win that series against Boston after a devastating, well, not devastating, but a tough loss in the first game of that series. You kind of set yourself behind the 8 ball. Every time it feels like you get some help and the Astros lose a game, the Rangers can't get it quite that time. So they could help themselves if Kansas City gives them some help over the weekend. If they beat Seattle, and they take care of business against the Angels, Seattle has a chance to help them out. Seattle has a chance to help themselves out. Texas, they still control their own destiny. Now, they do need some help, but, it's still there for a taking. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in the last week plus of the Major League Baseball regular season. It's going to be exciting. I'll be there Sunday for the last regular season game between the Rangers and the Mariners in Arlington. Now, obviously, I can't make the trip up to Seattle, but the last home game of the year for Texas, and yours truly will be in attendance. So I'm excited to see if the Rangers finally get things clicking on all cylinders here in the last week plus as we go in hunting for postseason baseball in Texas, Drew.
I sure hope they do.
I do too. That's BJ's Best.
That is BJ's Best. Another wonderful edition of BJ's Best, and the first one here in season 4. Love it. Love it.
Thank you so much.
Man, what I love even more, BJ, is that wonderful, beautiful merch that we have with Public online. Oh my goodness. Unfortunately, there is no sale this week, but you can still get the gift of free shipping. And if you're looking for a deal that's always there, well, at Public, they have just that. 25% off on stickers when you buy 4 or more. And they're only $2.50 when they're not on sale. Slide on over to the link in the description and add some stickers to your cart by shopping our merch at TeePublic.
Well, that's right, Drew. I love those stickers. I've got some. I gave my mom one. She's got it displayed prominently over there in her office. She's got one on her desk, on her computer, I'm pretty sure, on either one of those. But I also was looking to get myself some new merch, and I went over to our friends at Fanatics to do just that. Fanatics is where you can find officially licensed everything. It's the start of both the NFL and the college football season. So it's perfect in time to get yourself some fresh new gear in honor of the new season. You've got deals going on right now, Drew, through Friday night at midnight Eastern. You've got an opportunity to get up to 65% off site-wide because it's a Bolt sale. Use the promo code BOLT, and you could get up to 65% off on your order. That's over at our friends at Fanatics. They have officially licensed everything, Drew. And as the baseball postseason gets closer and closer, we know you'll want to be checking them out to see what they have in store. As teams start to clinch, you can get your playoff merchandise if you're a baseball fan from Fanatics. And, it's almost the start of basketball season in the NBA. The WNBA playoffs are going on. That will be what we hit next. Perfect time to find yourself some new gear at Fanatics. And Drew, as we do every week, but for the first time in season 4, it's time to find out what is on your mind this week, my friend.
Well, Mr. BJ, this week to kick off season 4 of What's on Drew's Mind, it's binge watching. Binge watching TV shows. I don't binge watch movies. I don't do that. Binge watching TV shows, and we're going to talk about some binge-worthy TV shows on Netflix, and I'll talk about some of the shows that I have been watching / binge watching. Well, would have preferred to binge watch this because it's just one season. You might as well just knock it out in a weekend, but it didn't end up that way because I don't have weekends. Oh, but yes, indeed, we're going to talk some binge watching here. I love a good binge watch, BJ. How about yourself?
I don't do it as often as you think. Now, if I get a chance and I can sit down and watch a few episodes in a row, that's about what I would classify. I used to. I have in the past.
We are getting older. I wouldn't expect you to be able to binge watch as frequently as you used to as your college days. Sure.
And it does depend on the type of show. It's easier to go through a comedy when the episodes are 20 to 30 minutes as opposed to sitting there for 40 minutes to an hour or more to try to catch up on a drama. So
that's why you won't watch Game of Thrones. I understand. Okay. So how long was that murder mystery show? How long were those episodes?
They're about 30 minutes.
30 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're just
that's
impatient with your TV show watching. If it's a TV show, I don't want it to be more than a half hour. I'm not watching it. That's a movie. Okay.
I wouldn't say that necessarily, Drew, but the thing about it is that, for the first couple seasons with the murder mystery show, I fell behind and didn't watch it. It's not a one that drops all at once. It is a weekly show. And now that I'm caught up, I had to get back to the habit of watching weekly as opposed to watching all in one sitting. And so I think that's something that you miss when you binge watch is when you only get one at a time, you can formulate and see what kind of new pieces of evidence or what kind of theories you can come up with in the time while you're thinking about what you just watched. You can go back and look for things that you might have missed. Obviously, you can still do that with a binge watch, but if you go through all at once, then you already know what's going to happen. And then you just go back and see, oh, yeah, they alluded to that right there. You pick up on the details that you wouldn't have known to look for at the time when you were first watching.
Indeed. Well, let's get into some of these binge-worthy shows, BJ. So what I've been watching lately, I watched Full Swing on Netflix. That's a little golf, little put together. I don't even know if you call that a TV show per se. Just a little 6-part thing between a whole bunch of golfers from
like a docu-series almost.
Yeah, a little docu-series.
Okay.
And but as far as actual TV shows, I rewatched House of the Dragon recently. I just finished the rewatch yesterday. The first season of it. I have a whole lot of shows that I have watched, BJ. I've actually got my handy dandy list right here for you. All the shows that I have watched so far. And I recommend all these, and we'll go through what's still actually on Netflix because I'm not sure all of these are on Netflix still or on their streaming platforms. But I've watched Breaking Bad. That is on Netflix. That is definitely a binge-worthy show and one of the best shows to ever grace the TV streaming platforms or on TV in general. One of the best. Recommend that as a watch. BJ, have you seen Breaking Bad?
I have 100%. I've seen all of the spinoff sequel as well. I don't know if that's on your list as well, but
So
I
you've
know
seen
we
all
talked
of
about it last summer when it was still going on.
Yeah, so he's alluding to Better Call Saul. And
Hmm.
that is also one of the better shows that you will ever watch in your life as well. So, I mean, we're 2 for 2 on recommendations right now. We cannot,
Yeah.
we can't let you down if we're starting you off with these two right here. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't be disappointed. I mean, that's really high standards to start off recommendations for some binge-worthy shows.
I mean,
And
right
we
there,
will
that's
probably,
125 episodes
yeah,
between those two series alone.
and we will probably fall off a little bit here because these are really great just because they're high quality like that. But more
Should have
so,
saved the best for last.
yeah, but you won't be disappointed if you watch this one either. I try to tell BJ this one all the time. Game of Thrones, another one that I've watched. Surprisingly enough, I have not rewatched Breaking Bad. I rewatched House of the Dragon before Breaking Bad. Shame on me, but that is 5 seasons of Breaking Bad. Game of Thrones, 8 seasons. The first 7, no, the first 6 are 10 episodes long. The 7th is 8, and the last one is 6. And mostly disappointing, but everything else is really good. I recommend that show definitely. The 100, another show that I thought was pretty good. I never got to finish. I stopped around season 5. I was skippity through season 4 because I had some transition of how I was watching it. I think I was watching it on I either had someone else's Netflix at the time or was borrowing someone's Hulu or something. But I never got to finish it. I stalled right there, and it's had a whole lot more episodes then. And I was in fact binging at that time, so it was a hard stop for me, and it's really unfortunate because it like killed the momentum for like what I remember with the show, and it almost makes me want to start over, but I don't know if I will.
I was gonna say that sounds like one you got to start over with, Drew. I don't know.
Yeah,
Are all the seasons available now?
they should be, but I'm not positive. And I
Okay.
think there is 7. And there was one recently that was out on actual TV, I believe. Don't quote me on that. I'm so behind on the 100 that I'm not even sure about the updates I just gave you. Anyway, that's not a bad show though. Wentworth, I believe I've talked about that on the podcast before. It's the better women's prison show. It's just all around better in every facet. Everything you think is good about Orange is the New Black, Wentworth is better at it. So just turn that on instead of Orange is the New Black. Orange is the New Black is good in its own ways, but Wentworth is just better. Even though I will say this about Wentworth, the last seasons that ended up being a combined final season should have ended on the season prior. I think that would have been a much better ending than what they ended up with. It wasn't bad. Too bad, really. It could have been worse. What they ended up with the show, but the end of that other season before the combined season, which I want to say is the end of 7 or 8, when they lose a certain person.
Yeah, I've got a very similar show that almost verbatim what you said about Wentworth it can describe House of Cards. I don't know if you got to watch that or binge watch. That
No,
was
I have
one
not
that
watched that.
yeah, that's one that I would recommend if you haven't watched it, I would say stop after season 5. There's some off the film controversies that emerged at that time, and things got rewritten, and the last season loses some cohesiveness, and it's just not as good. So I always look at the end of the show at the end of season 5, and then I look at season 6 as like a failed first season of a spinoff that didn't last or something like that, basically.
Fair enough, and you can look at Wentworth that way as well because it would have been a much better close to do it the way they could have done it instead of adding the extra season and then having to combine it there at the end. It just didn't work out as well as what could have been a phenomenal close because that was dude, that final episode that was just I won't spoil too many things, but it's a great show. Next, I have Narcos. It's on Netflix. It's a good show about Pablo Escobar and his drug escapades back in his day and everything that consisted of that.
I have heard of that. I want to watch it. I haven't though.
And I believe it's only 3 seasons, maybe just 2.
Sounds right.
2 to 3 seasons, but a good show. Definitely worth the watch on Netflix. A quick watch and binge, nothing too long. El Chapo, another one on Netflix as well, in the same realm. I mean, you get the idea. You've heard of the man as well. It's about the same length in seasons. I want to say 3. 3 to 4 maybe, though, maybe one extra season, but it's around the same length. So go watch that one over on Netflix. It should still be over there. Another one that I haven't gotten to, it's on my list. I intend to start it, but like I was one episode into it and I was like on it, but other shows that far in I've been on before, but I wasn't giving it enough of a chance. It's got a movie out. It's The Last Kingdom on Netflix. A really a highly recommended show that I've heard nothing but mostly positive reviews about, and people love the movie that's come out recently as well. So
I think I remember hearing about that. Was that like a was that a Turner like TNT show?
I don't know, actually. I didn't catch it when it was on actual TV.
Okay.
I only saw it once it hit Netflix, and I was looking for another show to watch. And I was like, ooh, this looks Game of Thrones and Vikings-ish type stuff. I'm down with that. But I've got to give it another chance to really get it going. But it looks like a good show, and people like it a lot. I need to just not compare it to Game of Thrones and other things, and maybe I'll like it individually like I should. Another show, Narcos Mexico. I mean, you get the gist of it. Just a spin-off of the Narcos series. Also good. A few seasons, quick binge-worthy show. Ozark over on Netflix as well with Jason Bateman. Definitely worth the good watch. Nice little suspense thriller. It's drug involved as well. I'm sorry, people. I like these shows. And it's a few seasons as well. Definitely worth the sit and binge watch. BJ, take some notes on some of these short seasons that you can go knock out.
I was gonna say some of these that you've mentioned are already on my list. I just haven't had a chance to get down there and sit down and watch them all and make the binge. So
unfortunately for us, we'd have to knock out like a few football games or something like in our watch schedule to binging.
Remind me when we get to February, and I'll I'll start the TV binging again.
Right, just run this episode back. We also got The Walking Dead. Some people are indifferent on that bad boy. I stuck with it throughout its entirety. It's obviously some of its best in the first few seasons, but its closing season was really good. And the direction they're going with the 2 spinoffs that have debuted in Walking Dead Dead City and Walking Dead Daryl Dixon, that is only 2 episodes in, is good so far. I recommend a quick binge on The Walking Dead Dead City, but get caught up on The Walking Dead first before you go to Dead City, or else you kind of won't get it. You'll get it a little bit, but you need to watch through The Walking Dead to get to understand how they're at that point with those two. Okay. Gotcha. But definitely worth watching Walking Dead. Go back and give it a chance again. They finished it decently well. I know there were some sputtery spots in there, but it happens. Next on the list here, Fear the Walking Dead. That's another show I'm in the process of finishing here. I've discovered it's all on Max now. Shout out to Max. Put the NBA on there. Just keep the whole season on there. Just do that. Just do that. And I've discovered that whole series is on there. The final season of it is coming out on regular TV October 22nd, I believe. So a month from the debut of this episode. So I've got a month to get caught up on The Walking Dead. Thank goodness I finished my rewatch of The House of the Dragon. That's probably where I'm about to start, is with the season 5, episode 11. That's where I'm at on Fear the Walking Dead. So we'll get back on that. That hasn't been near as long in the stopping point as the 100's been, so I can pick back up on that. Not too bad. Another show, Person of Interest. It's on Netflix. BJ, I know you've heard of this one. I've told you about it myself.
Yeah, I knew about it before you told me. That's one that's been on the list for a while that I wanted to get into.
Yeah, I really recommend that one. I would rewatch that one as well. All of these shows that I'm listening to you, I would rewatch them. So that's how good they are to me, that if they're rewatchable. Don't think because I haven't rewatched Breaking Bad, I don't like it, because I really do. It's the first one I read you off this list. And Person of Interest is really good. It's got Taraji P. Henson in it as well, if you're familiar with her. So give that a watch over on Netflix. Definitely binge-worthy. House of the Dragon, of course, as I mentioned that I watched. There's only one season. And if you haven't even seen Game of Thrones, just go ahead and go watch that. That's just a good starting point for you to get a little bit of a gist. And it won't throw you off at all to go from watching one season of House of the Dragon straight into Game of Thrones, even though the second season of House of the Dragon hasn't come out yet. So just get to it. Okay. Last couple here. Well, no, I won't count that last one because that's a docuseries. Quarterback over on Netflix with the NFL players.
That's on my list too.
And lastly on here, Peaky Blinders on Netflix. That is one of the ones that I recently finished up. It is 6 seasons. 6 episodes per season. It's like 6 different stories with most of the same characters like throughout the thing. Obviously, people die along the way, but a really good series about a family, the Shelbys out in Birmingham, and it's a really good show. And I mean, people recommended it highly, and I definitely was rocking with it. The main character is Thomas Shelby, played by Cillian Murphy, who plays in Oppenheimer. So I mean, he's a phenomenal actor, and shame on me for not watching Oppenheimer yet.
Well, I was gonna say that's one I haven't seen either. So
yeah, but he's excellent in Peaky Blinders, and it's an excellent show. I recommend it. So that's the end of my list. There, we'll just kind of rock through my list because it's better than what this big list is. But some of these are still on Netflix and other shows like that. So Walking Dead, Breaking Bad on Netflix, and some of those others that I listed, Better Call Saul, and things like that. So check those out on Netflix and what other platforms you got. Some things are over on Max as well. So if you got them, watch them over there. If you got some time, winter is on the way. So while you're all stuck inside, you've got this mass list of binge-worthy shows for you to watch. So if you didn't know what to watch while you were mindlessly scrolling through Netflix or mindlessly scrolling through Max and Hulu, oh, Drew told me that I can go watch Breaking Bad. Let's go do that. Oh, I've never seen this House of the Dragon stuff that they've been talking about. Let's check that out. It's been out for a year now. Let's watch it. There you go. Check them out. Let me know what you think about them. They're all good shows. I've seen them all. We can talk about them. I know stuff. And that's what we're talking about today. And that is what's on Drew's mind.
Awesome stuff. Well, a lot of good recommendations. I know I'm pretty sure I've heard of at least all of them. Even if I haven't had a chance to watch them yet. That's not that I wouldn't.
That is fantastic.
But well, so we just concluded the first round of the WNBA playoffs, Drew. And were you really surprised that we only had one series that went the 3 games to the distance? I think we both thought that there were at least 2 that were going to go the distance. I know you had said that you thought that Dallas and Atlanta were going to go 3.
Well, here's the thing. I selfishly want games to go to a 3rd game.
Well, true.
Like everything that was in a game 2, I was, like, oh, I want over. Like, so when Mystics and Liberty were playing, I was like, oh, I want OT, or I want if I don't get OT, I want a cloud game winner. So that we forced game 3, and then once we got to OT, I was like, oh no, I want double OT, and I just wanted the games to keep going. I want the games to keep playing. I want more games. If it finishes in a sweep, that's less playoff games for us. We get 2 more game 3s. We got 2 more first round games to talk about. But now we're already talking about semifinals and nothing but. But that's okay.
But I was gonna say, but we do get more games in the semifinal rounds and in the finals, of course.
But we got the same amount of games though. Anyway, this game.
And we're that much closer. I mean, the semifinals matchups. Not trying to be offensive or anything like that, but I mean, you can't tell me you're not excited to see Aces and Wings a little bit more so than you were to see Aces and Sky, or I mean, the Liberty Mystics notwithstanding, because that was a good series that we thought was going to go the distance, right. But Connecticut and the Liberty is going to be a fantastic semifinal matchup. Yeah. I think that this is, in terms of like we predicted that we might end up with some chalkiness, but these have been the 4 best teams throughout the good majority of this entire season, Drew. And this is what we're wanting, and this is what we got.
Yeah, man. And before I jump too deeply into the semifinal matchups, you alluded to New York versus Mystics, and we hoped that one would have gone the distance. And Natasha Cloud tried to make it go the distance. I mean, she had a career night in scoring and in a lot of ways doing some franchise things for the Mystics in that game that went to OT. I mean, she played a phenomenal game all around. It was a beautiful bit of basketball to watch. I mean, that's the type of stuff that you want. Like, no matter who's like, that's especially in a neutral situation like I was in. Like, man, this is just great basketball to watch. 2 teams fighting back and forth. And one of the players that I met recently, I met her 7 months ago at AU. I got to talk to her. Send her some pictures and videos that I took of her during the games and things like that. I got to talk to her and stuff. So meeting her and then watching her have a career day, I mean, it just kind of warms your heart as well, as long as along with just loving to see, awesome basketball be played on the court, just to watch people thrive out there. But first round action was.
I was gonna say that final play that was supposed to, potentially go
You
to.
just had to go to the negative stuff.
No. You didn't even let me finish. I was gonna say the final play was designed for her, was it not? I mean, that's where they were going. There was no doubt. I thought there might have been a chance that they could have gotten. Yeah, in EDD potentially.
I don't know, because they had a close up of the timeout of what Tebow was drawing up. It didn't sound like it was actually going to Tosh. It looked like they were trying to get a three from Atkins or to look for EDD in that. And Cloud was just kind of a distraction, being the inbounder. I don't know exactly, but I mean, that's, I would have looked for the hot hand in Cloud in that situation, but it makes sense to go to some others. If you got a better situation, somebody else might be open, because Cloud's been hot all night. They're definitely going to Cloud. Some people might be thinking in that mindset, but Brittany Sykes had, some clutch, moments in the game, and, Ariel Atkins would be hot from the corner in three. I mean, if that's her spot, I mean, that's where you like her. I mean, set up the play that way. But I mean, either way, the play was blown. That was super disappointing to watch that inbound come, and the confusion on what was supposed to happen there. But I mean, she probably was, one of the options within the last play, for sure. But terrible way for that end out. There's a lot of good first round action though. You mentioned Lynx and Sun going the distance. Issa Collier trying to put the team on her back and will them into the next round. A team starting off 0-6 like that, and making it to that point was pretty impressive. And
absolutely to be a win away from the semis after starting 0-6, I don't know if we'll ever see something like that again.
Yeah, that's why I thought, that Reeve was, really pushing for Coach of the Year more than, she got credit for. She only got like 2 Coach of the Year votes out of the votes that came through. She finished, I don't know, it might have been like second to last, tied for like second to last or something. But Stephanie White won Coach of the Year, and LT was in second place from the Dallas Wings. I mean, both deserving of the being in first, and LT being among the top 3. I just thought, Reeves should have had a little bit more recognition there. Aces did what they were supposed to do against Chicago in the first round. The sweep. Asia was completely dominant, and expected the Wings and the Dream to have a little bit more of a battle within there. But, I mean, I love to be wrong. I love to be wrong. I thought the game was going to go 3. I didn't know if VJ was going to go out super sad as the assistant over there and not be able to scrap up one little win against the Wings this year. But that's funny that the Wings didn't let her get not one game. But no, I mean, I wanted things to selfishly go 3 as a fan, and thought a couple of things would have gone the distance. I didn't think Sun Lynx probably would, and they did, and would have liked Mystics and Liberty to go 3, but it didn't, and saw the possibility of Wings and Dream going 3, but it didn't, and the Wings are taking care of business. Wings had some history with 7 players in double figures in the game, and they won their first playoff round series since coming to Dallas in their first man, it was just a big time win for that team, and going on to the next round. And now I guess we can allude to some of those semifinal matchups officially, but Wings and Aces was the last matchup I saw in Texas before I left, BJ. And guess who won that game?
It was the Dallas Wings that won that game.
Dallas Wings, and it was a beautiful game, such a fun one to watch. The atmosphere was electric in the building. Everybody played a pretty good game in that one as well. It was a good game to send off on, and now we get to see them for 5 games, and the first 2 are going to be at the Aces house. So, I mean, if the Wings can snag one over there, they're going to be able to have a situation where they could play multiple games at home. They're only going to get to play 1 guaranteed. 4 and 5 is just if necessary, if a sweep doesn't happen on either side. But looking forward to a good battle. I mean, it's going to come down to winning in Vegas. If they can't get one on the road, I think it's going to be, just completely backs against the wall. And, I think it's just going to be one of those where they just, send Asia to you to attack if you're down 2-0. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just like
Oh, yeah.
feed Asia, get 30, 35 points, 8 rebounds, 3 blocks, 4 assists or whatever, and just have a complete game and send them home and go back to the finals again and rest for like a week before you play again.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, you think about it, this is an Aces team that was, 95% winning percentage at home this year. They were 19-1. So you've seen crazier things happen, but this is an Aces team that, I mean, you go back the last 2 or 3 years and they just don't lose a whole lot of home games flat out, period. And
They
so
don't.
if Dallas is going to, sneak a win in Vegas somehow, they legitimately got a chance in the series. It's going to have to be, I think it's going to have to be game 1. If they don't take game 1, I don't know that they're going to force a game 4.
I think it's going to be tough either way. I mean, they've got a lot, in their favor. Is they're really hot right now. They're rolling really well, and they know what it's like to beat this team. They've got the confidence to beat this team. And any other year, you may not be saying that if you're the Dallas Wings, and just because Aces have typically rocked their socks in the past, but. It's a team that can compete this year. It's a team that is all healthy coming into this right now, as healthy as you're going to be. And you got the Aces right where you want them. They're not necessarily completely healthy with Candace not there, because they had Candace last time that they played when I was there when Candace played. I don't believe if she played in the matchup that was like a week or so.
Yeah, I don't think
later.
she did.
I'm not sure. She might have already been out, but either way, this is an Aces team that still knows who they are. I mean, it's mostly the Aces of old from last year without Candace there. So, I mean, they know what they've got. But this is a definite new Dallas Wings team. They know what they're about this year. Everybody's healthy. They've really put a lot of things together. Some players are doing more than they used to. Enrique having complete games in the first round. I mean, obviously we know her as a scorer, but, being able to have, just a nod to Enrique. She wasn't going to be she's not in my top playoff performers, even though she's been well. She's 5th in the playoffs in assists per game so far. I mean, it's just a pair of games, but for Enrique, who's not typically known as the passer, the facilitator on the floor, I mean, that's a good sign to see that, teammates are getting involved and she's still doing her thing in the playoffs. Yeah. So it's a good sign right there for Dallas.
Yeah. Let me pose this to you, Drew, because I mean, this is a successful year for the Wings. No matter what happens in the series. You're playing with house money because, I mean, you were probably expected to get to this point, but nobody expects you to get past this point. While there's a lot of expectations for the Aces to try to be that first repeat winner in over 20 years now to try to get it done.
All the pressure is on Las Vegas.
All the pressure's on. You're playing literally with house money. Yeah. If you come out and play loose and relax and not sweating it, you absolutely have a chance to at least make the Aces, that tighten things up and make them feel like they've really got to, put pedal to the metal in order to get this done. I legitimately do think that could be a big part of it, and it would start with a great performance in game 1, especially from Satu. I think for the WNBA's most improved player, as we both said, because there was really no other option when you looked at it. There were options, but there were no better options,
right?
Because we were all living in Satu's world this year. But if Satu goes out there and just continues to do what Satu do this season, there's no doubt in my mind that this Wings team can. I mean, I think they could be going in the fourth quarter with the advantage, and everybody, is like Aces on the brink of losing their first playoff game since the finals last year, blah blah blah, or whatnot. It would definitely give a reasonable intrigue for a game that people not necessarily giving Dallas any kind of chance. And I mean, you look at just kind of some of the early lines right now. Dallas, a 10.5 point underdog right now for game 1, and that's. I think it has not moved a whole lot since it dropped. It may have even gone up in the Aces' favor. I think that's a disservice to the Wings. I hope they see the disrespect and they play off of it and they thrive.
I think they will. I think they'll have a really good playoff series, and I think just in this, you could call it homer, you could call it whatever. I don't see any way the Wings get swept in this. I think they at least come out with one win. I don't think they go outside and get swept. I mean, they really
it could be a game 3 and then they lose in 4 at home or something like that.
Losing in 4. You don't even. I don't even know if you can have gentlemen sweeps in Game 5 series. I mean, what would typically be, one in a in a 7-game series, if you lose in 4 or lose in 5, that's a gentleman's sweep. But I mean, you really can't get one here. You either get swept, or you were in it, or it came down to the wire because you went to Game 5. So I mean, that's just kind of what it boils down to here. And you casually mentioned WNBA awards, so I'll slide to that and pop back to it. Pop back to our topic real quick. 4 have come out so far: Coach of the Year, 6th Player, Executive of the Year, or is it 4? Is it 3? 3 have come out.
Yeah.
No. Yes. 3 have come out.
Maybe.
Coach of the Year, 6th Player, and Executive of the Year. I am 1 for 2. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Most Improved as well. I knew it was 4. I almost had to. 4 came out. So Coach of the Year, 6th Player, Executive of the Year, and Most Improved. I am 2 for 4 so far, getting Satu and Jonathan Kolb. Yeah. Missed on Stephanie White, even though I told you that was one of my final 2. I didn't pick her. And then missed on Alicia Clark because I picked Dana Evans. So we'll see how I think I'm
1 of 4, right?
I don't remember what you had.
Yeah. I thought I was 1 for 4 and what I was able to kind of remember in my head, but we'll go back and
take it back.
Yeah, we'll figure it out by the time all the awards are announced for sure.
The biggest one is going to come out, before our next episode, and that's the MVP on Tuesday, BJ. That's going to be huge. That's going to be an exciting race. You got any kind of insider buzz? How do you think it leaned ultimately based on kind of what you've seen from media at large? Well, I do want to say one thing. I do think it is disadvantage Wings if A'ja Wilson does not win the MVP award on Tuesday. Imagine the Aces getting game 1 at home and then A'ja losing the MVP award on Tuesday. The next game they play versus the Wings, she's going to have historic numbers, unfortunately. It's just what's going to happen right there. If she doesn't, I mean, it may just be one of regular games and Wings get the comeback win and go back home with it tied 1-1. But if she loses it, monster game on the way.
Well, I was just saying that's why I think game 1 is so important for Dallas because I don't know that I think that she's going to get it this year, Drew. Regardless of whether it's AT, whether it's Stewie, or if it's A'ja. I mean, you've got game 2 literally Tuesday night. You've got that. I don't know. They might be announcing it in between games because you've got Stewie playing, you've got AT playing in the first game. So if it's probably a good sign for one of those two if the MVP trophy is seen like pregame in New York and it's not going to be in Vegas. And then you're like, oh no, A'ja monster game, which not that she hasn't had monster games so far this postseason, Drew.
Yeah. And to kind of round out what we're looking at in the semifinals, I wanted to look at, even though this is not particularly in order on our little rundown sheet, some top playoff performers. I was able to cut it down to 3, and I've got an honorable mention here just because she's balling out. And oddly enough, I was able to get one player from each team on my top 3. Thank goodness, because that was what I was hoping for. One of these players, we've mentioned all of these players already. Alyssa Thomas being one of them so far throughout the playoffs. Obviously, she's not a player that shoots threes. Her split so far: 57% from the field, 0%, no threes, and 64% from the free throw line. 4th in points in the playoffs so far, 1st in assists, and 4th in steals. Also got, this is in no order, by the way, A'ja Wilson on here for one of the other playoff performers. 60% from the field so far, no threes, so 0% from 3, and 77% from the line. Her split so far in the first round. 2nd in points, 4th in rebounding, and 1st in blocks. And my 3rd playoff performer so far, Satu Sabally. 5th in points, 7th in assists, and 3rd in steals. Split so far, BJ. You ready for this?
Okay.
50% from the field. 50% from 3. 100% from the free throw line. 50, 100.
50 plus 50 does equal 100, Drew.
Yes,
So
it does. Yes,
I mean, that's good. Some good performances so far, and that's what the Wings are going to need if they are going to pull off the upset.
And it is just a couple of games, but I expect Satu to continue that level of play. I mean, maybe not as efficient, but a high level of play in the second round against the Aces. And my honorable mention, just because she actually happened to lead in multiple categories, one of the few that are leading in the top 10 in 4 different categories, BJ, after round 1, and the only one going into the second round doing it. DeWanna Bonner, my birthday twin, not tied, 6th in points so far throughout the first round, 5th in rebounds, 8th in assists, and 3rd in 3-pointers made.
Yep.
Her splits in the first round, 44% from the field, 44% from 3, and 73% from the line.
Fantastic stuff.
Some other performers that, are not technically in these top performers, but they're playing in the playoffs still. Enrique Agunbuwale, 7th in points, and we mentioned she's 5th in assists throughout the first round. Brianna Stewart, who hasn't had the best first round so far, 8th in rebounds, 2nd in blocks.
She's just saving it for the second round for the
right.
semis.
Yeah. She'll cook it up for you when her team makes the finals.
She'll be ready.
And Jonquel Jones, 2nd in rebounding and 3rd in blocks.
Yeah.
And those are your playoff performers as the second round gets set for action. Brief little chat because we didn't really talk much about Connecticut and New York. New York probably going to overpower Connecticut in this series, I think. You can only get so much. Alyssa Thomas, you're going to have a whole lot of DB. I think DP's still going to get some buckets, but things are going to get tough. I think Jonquel is going to stay as solid as she has been for the second half of the year and in the playoffs so far for you. You need her to be for you to go all the way through. Stewie will get it together. Once Stewie gets it together, the Liberty will dominate, and I think that happens in this series right here. It doesn't go past 4 games if it gets there at all. I think if Stewie is rolling in game 1, it's a sweep. If she's not rolling in game 1, it goes to 4.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think both series go 4, and I think New York wins the first 2 at home. Connecticut salvages the 3rd game, but then the Liberty get it done in game 4. I think it's pretty similar for Dallas. I think if they can get game 1 on the road, then they might have a chance of getting it to 5, but I just don't think they're going to win the series. I'll take the Aces in 4 as well, but it's going to be really going to be interesting to watch the Liberty and see what is going to happen if Connecticut can agitate Stewie and kind of continue her, not that she hasn't had some good performances, but she's just not been up there like she normally is. If they can continue to give her fits and keep her agitated, then it's going to be one of those that we're really going to be keeping our eye on and a little bit surprised by it. But that's the path that Connecticut has to take in order to win.
Yes, indeed. And all right, BJ, let's shift gears real quick as we round out the WNBA here. Let's talk about a little show from a couple of players in the W that is forming together. And it'll be a brief conversation because most of it is going to be us checking out their video that they have over on YouTube. Let's check out the Syd and TP Show premiere. It's just a little minute and a half here. It's over on YouTube, over on Maximum Effort channel. You can actually apparently watch this on Roku channel, I discovered, so I'll be able to watch this on a regular basis. This is WNBA players Sydney Colson and Teresa Plaisance.
Okay.
Appreciate you being here.
Of course.
You know why you're here.
I do not, but I'm happy to be here.
You're about to find out why you're here.
I'm going to just take this out. I'm not on it. I'm just going to take notes this way.
No problem. We got a pitch that is going to change your life.
Gee, let's get down the brass tacks, baby. Syd, bam, there it is. The Syd and TP Show.
Syd, TP.
Oh, we're pitching.
We're pitching.
We're pitching.
Okay.
Basketball. We played it long time. 10 years WNBA experience.
10 years WNBA experience.
Combined. 20 years WNBA experience. That's more
that wasn't rhetorical at all.
You're good.
Yeah.
But what we bring on the court we want to bring to people's TV screens, okay?
This is the demographic that we're going for here.
Yeah, the people.
The Asheville community.
Can we just level set for one sec?
Yeah.
It's an uphill climb. It's really hard to sell content. It's really, really hard, right?
Gina?
Yeah.
Gina, you're looking at two people. Hold on one sec.
Yeah.
Hey, Mom, we're actually shooting right now. Can I give you a call back? It's so serious. We're actually pitching this show. Sorry about that.
No. Take your calls.
So back to what I was saying.
Yeah.
You're looking at two people that have been in the league for a decade. Do you know how hard it is to maintain a job for 10 years with 0 stats?
Yeah. And that's another thing, G.
Okay.
Whether the show does well or it flops, we just turn that into another show because we don't get embarrassed by anything.
The Syd and
All right.
TP Show.
I like the sense of humor there.
There's actually another look at the Syd and TP Show. We're going to see if I can take a look at that really quick as well, real fast. That's all right. All right, one more little minute, and we'll be done talking about, watching the Syd and TP Show.
Yeah.
You can help us become the faces of the league.
Oh.
Everybody in the place, now we going on.
This girl right here, that's my best friend, Sydney Colson.
And this tall glass of water is Teresa Plaisance.
Yeah.
Same action. Give me a ring.
We are on a mission.
You got to become faces of the league.
That only we can complete.
Do your thing, now we going on.
These pickles are giving my mouth a sensation that only my mouth could explain.
Keep it going on.
We're athletes.
We're artists. Y'all know me. A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
We're media moguls.
Have you guys ever thought about writing a book?
Everybody in the place, now we going
And we're one shot away from world domination. Whether the show does well or it flops, there's really no way to lose in this because we don't get embarrassed by anything.
The Syd and TP Show.
The Syd and TP Show. Sydney Colson,
Show.
another one of the players that I actually got to meet at AU this year. Teresa Plaisance also played at AU this year, but I met Teresa Plaisance back when I started covering the Dallas Wings back in 2018 because she is a former Dallas Wings player on the team. So familiar with both of these players. They're both hilarious. Syd, I will give her the edge on being hilarious here. She's just like me, a Leo, but she's definitely the more funny one. She's absolutely hilarious in all different facets. You can follow her on Twitter. She don't care what kind of joke it is. She'll fire it off. She's not afraid to say whatever. And like they said, they do not get embarrassed.
Nothing flops, Drew. Are you playing favorites though? I mean, I thought they were both really funny.
I'm not playing favorites. I'm just saying.
Okay. It sounded like it. When you talk about both being Leos, man, it's tough not to be thinking you're playing favorites over here.
Hey, if Teresa, former Dallas Wing, you know.
That's true. That's true.
There's no favoritism here. I pointed out a good side of both. One,
all right,
former Dallas Wing. One, a little bit funnier.
I guess maybe that's something with us too. I don't know which of us is the funnier of the two, but
I guess I am playing favorites. I guess I didn't mean to. She's just really funny. Okay, all right, they're both funny. She's just a little bit funnier. All right, you can find that on Mac channel with 10 episodes airing weekly on Mondays. And like I said, you can catch it on Roku channel. Most common for us out there. If anybody knows about Tubi and all that other stuff, I don't know about these other little other channels it's going to be on, but that's where you can find the majority of it. And now, BJ, it is time to play a game here in season 4 called With It or Quit It. It's a legendary game. It's been around for 3 seasons now. We're carrying it into season 4, and oh man, it's got a little new wrinkle to it, and hopefully I'll have another wrinkle here pretty soon. Getting excited about turning this game into something super fun. This little game called With It or Quit It. BJ knows how it goes. If you're new here and your first episode is episode 1 of season 4, well, it's a little game called With It or Quit It. I ask BJ 5 questions, or if we have a guest, we ask the guest 5 questions, and it's really simple. You just tell me whether you're with this question I delve over to you here, or if you're going to quit it. You're not with that type of stuff. You're either going with it or you're going to quit it. It's as simple as that, and it's just 5 questions. And
all right.
You ready, BJ?
I'm ready, Drew.
Let's rock it and rolling. Well, Mr. BJ, Number one.
Number one.
On With It or Quit It. You're the type of guy who gets road rage easily. With it or quit it?
I'm going to say quit it, but it just depends on what's going on. If I'm late, if I'm running behind, then it will, especially if you're being a stupid driver.
Well, on average.
Maybe. On average, no. I don't think that I get road rage that easily. So I'm going to say quit it. Now, I don't know if people that have ridden with me in the car might disagree, but I don't know.
So less time. So, okay. So more times than not, you're not road.
Yeah. No. I might yell at myself or something like that, and then I'm perfectly fine.
Okay.
Just got to let it out and just be on with it. That's it.
Okay, well, he's quitting it on the first one.
Quit it.
Number 2, Mr. BJ.
Yes, sir.
NFL games on Thanksgiving. As you know, they're pretty good. Everybody watches them year to year out. NFL games on Thanksgiving. Those are your favorite over NBA games on Christmas. With it or quit it?
This is a tough question because it's never the same every year. So you can't necessarily make the argument. There are some years where it feels like the NBA's Christmas slate is a lot better than the NFL's Thanksgiving slate. So I'll go ahead and quit it again. But I do watch both, and I do enjoy both for different reasons. It really just does come down to matchups because, I mean, you're guaranteed Detroit and Dallas are going to be hosting on Thanksgiving, but year in, year out will be potentially different depending upon the stars of the league and who's kind of up and rising versus, who's coming into the twilight of their career potentially on Christmas for the NBA.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Quitting it again. Sure. All right.
Quit it 2 for 2.
2 for 2 on quit it. Let's see how it goes with the rest of this. And it all just depends on your taste buds on this next one, BJ. Number 3. BJ, number 3, pickle spears are a great side. I'm going to say side snack for pizza. With it or quit
it? First of all, quit it because pickle spears, no. I like
pickles?
I like dill pickles circular. I don't like pickle spears.
What?
I can't do the spear. I know it's weird. I know, but I don't do spears. I can't do the spears of pickle. Now I will put pickle like
spears of pickle.
Yeah, exactly. dill circular on the hamburger or on the sandwich or whatnot. Absolutely, I can.
Dude,
but with a side of pizza, no. No to the spear, first of all, and no to the side of pizza. So I'm gonna have to say quit it again.
Dang, dude, I love a good pickle spear alongside the pizza there. Every time I used to go to Pizza Inn in my hometown and eat off the buffet, have my pizza there and have a little side plate and had a few pickles on it to take a bite of pizza, boom, little bite of pickle. It's delicious, man. It's a nice it's such an underrated combo out there, man.
Maybe I should give it a try then.
Maybe
I'll have to get some circular ones and try it out.
I'll buy you the jar of pickles that is good. Like I know, like you should like these. Like please be normal and like these.
I'm sure it's better than putting a pineapple on there. I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah, it's not. I don't want the pickle on the pizza. It's on side.
Yeah.
If anything. Okay. Maybe that might be where pineapples could actually win people over. Is being on the side, not actually cooked on the pizza.
Yeah.
Anyway, BJ, number 4 on With It or Quit It. You, Mr. BJ, you enjoy the pumpkin spice flavor. It's something pumpkin spice every fall. With it or quit it?
Absolutely not, Drew. I don't know if you are just trying to get me riled up and go 5 for 5 quit it's, but I think pumpkin spice is overrated. Now, I like pumpkin pie and you can use pumpkin in cooking. Like pumpkin shortbread is fantastic. There are uses of like pumpkin puree that I like, but pumpkin spice latte, no. Pumpkin spice, all the stuff that comes out this time of year with us being so close to fall, no, give me a break. Quit it. Get it out of here.
I was just asking because obviously, I do the morning show and stuff. I'm talking about all the things pumpkin spice that have come out. I've mentioned them in the show or whatever that has been going on. So just thinking like, oh, maybe BJ he likes this pumpkin spice. Maybe he tries it year in and year out. I don't know, but I definitely thought you were going to be with it on one of those first two for sure. But
it's going to come down to number 5, I guess, Drew, without even meaning to.
Oh man. Well, I don't. Well, I'm not even going to allude to what it could possibly be here. 4 for 4 on the Quit Its, and here we go as we dive into number 5 on With It or Quit It. BJ, if one had to go between Doritos, Cheetos, and Lay's, you would choose Lay's to go. With it or quit it?
Yeah, I'm with it. I can't give you a 5 for 5, Drew. Yeah,
I knew it was gonna lose right here because I set it up. I set that one up for a with it though because I'm pretty sure like you love like Cool Ranch Doritos.
I like the nacho cheese better, but I don't mind Cool Ranch every now and again.
Yeah, like you like multiple flavors of the Cheetos, and so like multiple flavors of each one. So like I knew that would probably I didn't know I don't think we ever talked about anything Lay's. So.
No, but I out of the regular Lay's, like I like barbecue and sour cream and onion. Those so like if you're making me pick between like plain old Cheetos or plain old Doritos and like one of those Lay's, then
no, it's not like plain versus plain, but like the chip brand in general. Like if you could get get rid of one of them, it would be Lay's.
So like you don't have any of the options for any of the
like no more Lay's again.
Yeah, I think I'd still go with it. I think I'd still have to go with it.
Okay.
So
well, there we go. He did not 5 for 5 quit it in his first one in the season 4. He made it.
But we don't try to do it that way. But it was a happy little accident almost.
Yeah, for real. And well, BJ, that is With It or Quit It.
And that is the end of our show. Don't forget to check things out on social media. All of our socials are up there on the top of your screen, Drew.
Dang it, that was supposed to be a part of the intro. I had it written on here as well. I still haven't fitting that into the first part. I guess it's going to be stuffed in today's outro.
We'll get it figured out when we get through here in season 4.
Oh, yeah. Make sure you find us wherever you get your podcasts. Rate and review the show. Smack those 5 stars over on Apple and Spotify because you can rate on those. You cannot necessarily review on both. You can only do that on Apple, but you can rate on both Apple and Spotify. Go give us 5 stars. We would sure appreciate it. The next episode will be next week, of course, at the same time, 5 p.m. Central, live over on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. So make sure you're there for it. And check out all the extra content on the social media platforms. And as BJ said, follow us on social media. And as soon as I can get into the groove of it, it'll be in the beginning of the episode telling you to follow us on socials at @the_lowdown. That's THA_lowdown on YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram, X, and Facebook, and maybe Threads in the future. We'll see about it. We're navigating things in that department. Anything to add, BJ, before we head out?
I thought we had a great season debut here for season 4. I'm looking forward to the next one. I hope each and every one of you that were tuned in for this exciting edition are excited for a debut of season 4.
On to many more episodes. Let's do it. One beautiful beginning and a lot more season 4 to go right here on the Lowdown Sports Show. We'll see you guys next week.